Hi, welcome back to my tier list series, and today we are on to one of my favourite seasons, and that is NewWho Series 3 from 2007, even though this season takes place in 2008 in universe. We'll kick right off with the first episode, Smith and Jones. So this episode got a 4. I think that it is a really good episode, a strong opener to the season, and a really great introduction to Martha Jones as a character. I mean, let's be honest, Martha, the queen that she is, goes straight into emergency mode when the crisis starts. She's like, right, let's deal with this shit. She didn't need to travel with the doctor to learn this. She just is an absolute queen from the start. Although I will say that I feel like when the doctor was really rude to Martha's colleague, I think twice he was rude to her and about her, I feel like Martha should have called him out on that and been like, hey, mate, that's my friend. What the fuck are you doing? Because she's only just met the doctor 5 minutes ago and then he's really rude to her friend. She should have called him out on that one. The kiss in the episode annoys me. This is the 7th time in Doctor Who that the Doctor has kissed a companion, in case you were wondering. But it really annoys me because he should have explained to Martha what that was before doing it, because I get the reason for it, but I also don't get the reason for it. Why did he have to do the genetic transfer in the first place? Because she would have been safe regardless. She would have been marked as a human because she is a human. So I don't understand why he did the genetic transfer thing to confuse the Jadoon or whatever. It doesn't make sense to me. What also doesn't make sense is when Martha performs CPR on the doctor, because as much as a heroic effort as that is, and I think that is brilliant of her for just straight away going into CPR, trying to save him, and she does save him with her final breath effectively, but it raises questions on how do you perform CPR on a Time Lord? On Gallifrey, do they have to have 2 people doing CPR, and do you do it together? Like, do you have to be in sync, or does it go one at a time? Or I have questions about CPR for Gallifreyans. And also, our ribs, when we perform CPR, you do it here right on the sternum because the heart is in the centre of the chest. But the Time Lord hearts are either side of the chest, so CPR would be terrible because you're gonna break ribs every time. As it stands, you might crack a rib, sure. Whereas there, you're gonna break ribs, surely. You'd have to, because you need the sternum to touch the heart and push against it when you perform CPR. But there's nothing here to push against the heart, so I'm very confused. Like, there are ribs, but they're not, I just don't understand. Time Lord anatomy is weird. And if the hearts are there, where are the lungs? Are the lungs just squished against the hearts, or are they different sizes? I have questions. Maybe he has 1 lung in the middle and then 2 hearts. Dunno. As a random aside, I love Martha's theme. It's got this beautiful mystery behind the music and I love it. It's a brilliant theme. I don't know how I would rank companion themes, but Martha's would be quite high up. I love Martha's theme. Okay, so I must talk about this now. The Doctor makes it very clear at the end of this episode that he's not romantically interested in Martha, okay? She has developed some attraction to him throughout the episode, but she's not an idiot and she's not a child. Good, it's good that she's not a child. What I mean is she's not as young as Rose was. Rose was 19, Martha is clearly older than that because she's passed certain university exams already because she's currently a medical student actually helping out in hospitals. So she must be in her early 20s at least. She's old enough to understand basic things like, this person does not want to be with me in that way, I will be platonic. This is my issue with Martha, okay? If you've seen my videos on the companions, you'll know my issue with Martha, because I think she's an absolute queen, and she's one of my favourite companions. The best companion in NewWho, I think. But the writing for her was terrible with regards to her love for the Doctor, her unrequited love, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. Martha is an intelligent character. She's an empathetic character. She would know to back the fuck off if someone said, I don't want to be with you. And the Doctor shouldn't have to say it in that way. He very clearly was grieving over someone. He said very clearly in the end of this episode that he's not looking for that. And she said, well, that's good. I don't want anyone who's not human anyway. And he's like, good. The Doctor thought they're on the same page, that they understood nothing's going to happen between them. But for some reason, Martha didn't understand that. And that's what annoys me, because the Doctor doesn't treat Martha the best throughout her time in the TARDIS. But also, she doesn't respect his wishes in not wanting anything romantic with him. And she resents him at times for not returning her feelings. That's just wrong. So I have issues in Martha's writing, okay? The Doctor is clearly emotionally unavailable, and Martha is an intelligent enough woman to be able to see that. But the episode in general is good and I enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to put it into fantastic. It was a great start to the season, a nice introduction to Martha. I like the Jadoon as well. That was an interesting new monster to be introduced. I think it's weird that they're space police when they're actually space mercenaries, but whatever. And the MVP of the episode is this nurse right here. I don't know their name. I don't know their story. All I know is that there was a patient cowering in that hallway and she was protecting them. That's all I need to know. Next up is the Shakespeare Code. So this episode got a 3. I think it was fine. As far as historicals go, it was okay. It's not my favourite historical. It's probably not one that I would choose to put on, but I do appreciate what they did with the Carrionites. Like with the werewolf last series, I do like when they take a fantastical creature like a witch and puts a sci-fi spin on it that, oh, they're just aliens, and they use the power of words rather than the power of numbers or something like that. I like how they've spun the witch aspect. I really hate the Rose would know moment in the inn when the doctor's talking at Martha and saying that he's sure he's missing something and Rose would know, she'd just say the right thing. On the one hand, it proves my point from the last episode that he's clearly emotionally unavailable and Martha shouldn't be upset with him that he's not returning her feelings. But on the other hand, it's such a dick move. He's very selfless in general, but when it comes to internal things, he's quite selfish and he doesn't really think about other people. So yeah, I understand why Martha was pissed off with him in that one. Also, I understand why people are pissed off with the Doctor for his treatment of Martha at the beginning of the episode. Obviously, Martha, being a black woman going back in time, is going to be slightly concerned about her safety, and that is a completely valid thing to be scared about. I mean, I'm obviously white, but I'm still a woman and I would be terrified to go back in time because historically women haven't been treated very well, at least not for the last 2,000 plus years. Before that, and in certain regions around that anyway, it was fine. The coats were very gender inclusive and whatnot, but throughout most recorded history, not so much. So I understand where Martha's coming from in that she is a bit wary about just walking out into Tudor London. And the Doctor shrugs her off, which I think is wrong. Look, I will be doing a video going into depth about Martha and Bill to do with them going back into the past because they both have moments in their respective series which talk about this. And I think that Bill's one is done better in series 10 than Martha's moment is done here in series 3. However, as an overall thing, just to say, the Doctor could have just explained to Martha that Tudor London was much more multicultural and diverse than people think it is. There were people of colour all around Tudor London, mostly towards the rivers and the docks because it was mostly tradespeople and people who have settled because they're related to tradespeople, all that sort of stuff. London was a massive hub of trade. There was immigration all over the place. There were culturally diverse people all over the place. It wasn't just a load of white people. There were people of all races and nationalities there. The Doctor could have just explained that. The real threat to Martha in this episode was that she was wearing trousers. Women have been burned alive for wearing men's clothes. And Martha walks around in a leather jacket and jeans. That was her real threat, okay? Was that she was wearing trousers. That would have been seen as heresy. And in Tudor London, of all places, yeah, you don't want to be seen doing any kind of heresy. So that was her real threat, her bigger problem. And I feel like the Doctor could have just explained, literally, it would have taken one line, you know, just one quick line to say, actually, you're fine, you're safe, we're in London, it's really diverse here, you're fine. You're not out in the sticks or anything, you're in London. And then they could have just had diverse casting in the extras around them to show, actually, yeah, she's safe, rather than just brushing her off completely, because that's really insensitive to do. Last thing to mention is all the Jake Rowling references. Obviously, that did not age well. Yeah, it's just, there's moments when you're like, oh no, I bet David regrets that line. No, I hate it. I'm sure he does too. That's not good. But overall, I think the episode was fine. Nothing special, but nothing really wrong with it. So I think I'm going to put it into upgrade in progress. And the MVP of the episode is Peter Street. The next episode is Gridlock. So this episode got a 4. I don't think I liked this one when I was young. I'm pretty sure this one was a boring one to me when I was young. But on rewatches and obviously as an adult, I really appreciate this one a lot more. I think it's a really interesting episode. I love all of the different cars. The fact that they're all the same on the outside, they're all just these dark metal tubes. But inside, it's all very unique to each individual who owns the cars. I mean, you've got the American Gothic, you've got K-pop, you've got the nudist one, you've got the business guy, you've got Cozy Cottage. And of course, you have cats. Thankfully not with James Corden. But I think that's a really interesting part of it when the Doctor's jumping through all the cars and you can see all the different styles that they have. However, the Doctor taking Martha to New York is really rude. Especially he takes her to the slums. Like, why? That's just... I understand Martha's annoyance at the Doctor, really, because he doesn't treat her well. The mood patches are weird to me because aren't they just like a futuristic version of antidepressants, except more specific to what feeling you want? I don't understand why the Doctor is so adamant against all of that and why he's adamant on shutting everyone down and says that he's going to shut them down if they don't do it themselves. Don't Time Lords have that code about non-interference or something? He sounds a bit Time Lord Victorious-y to me. The view of the Senate is really cool with all the skeletons. When you finally see that big skeleton Senate, I think that's really cool, really interesting visual, and really shows that everyone we met in New Earth is dead. So this episode ends with Martha getting information about the Doctor's past. And as much as I'm grateful that we got that information, because I like when we have additions to the lore, my issue with it is that Martha feels entitled to this information, which I don't like. She literally sits down and says, I'm not leaving until you start talking to me and tell me about your past. It's just like, well, that's not really... You're not entitled to that information. I think I would have preferred it if, because the Doctor had earlier on said that he lied to her because he was showing off and he lied, I feel like it would have been better if at the end he had have been the one to sit her down and say, look, I want to tell you something, and just say, I lied to you about this and my planet's gone and blah blah blah. Like, I feel like that would have been a better way to do it rather than Martha forcing the information out of him, because that just feels wrong to me. Also, Gridlock as a whole, I think, should have come after the Dalek two-parter. Because during Gridlock, Martha laments to the people who kidnapped her that she never even told her family that she was going anywhere. Her family will never know what happened to her if she dies there. So why doesn't she go straight home? I feel like it would have made more sense if Gridlock had been after the Dalek two-parter and straight into the Lazarus experiment so that she had gone home. I just think that would have worked a bit smoother rather than her going on another adventure and then going home. Because she's almost died 3 times now, so why would you risk a 4th time of that without telling your family anything? I just feel like it should have been after that. But overall, Gridlock was a fine episode, and I think I'm going to put it into... fantastic. It's not a favourite episode, and it's not the one that I would necessarily choose to put on, but if I did the Doctor Who spinner and this episode happened to be the one that got picked, I wouldn't necessarily be upset about it, so. And the MVPs for the episode are Alice and May Cassini. Next up is Daleks in Manhattan. So this episode got a 4 as well, and I feel like I like the Dalek two-parter a lot more than other people do, which is weird because I don't really enjoy the Dalek episodes as much. I just don't feel like there's many places you can go with the Daleks, to be honest. They're just space Nazis in squid form, in pepper pots. I don't really feel there's that many places you can go. But this episode gave us something new, something different, and it was quite interesting how it all developed. Also, Murray Gold's best song is in this one, so obviously it's a winner. Angel Put the Devil in Me is one of my favourite Murray songs. Also, we get to meet the absolute queen that is Tallulah with 3 L's and an H. Absolute queen. I love Tallulah. She fearlessly goes running off after the Doctor without hesitation because she just knows she's got to do something because they've heard Martha scream, and then she just jumps into the sewers. She's in her sparkly outfit. She doesn't care. She's just going to go in the sewers and help. And also Laszlo. When she sees Laszlo again, I just love the fact she doesn't scream or anything like that. She doesn't reject him. It's a bittersweet, sad moment with them. I love it. Although, talking about the sewers, I have this really strong memory of the Doctor picking up that Dalek thing, the Dalek thing that was supposed to be a Dalek and wasn't, and licking it. I have a really strong memory of him licking it. And I've been rewatching stuff on iPlayer, so I watched this one on the DVD thinking maybe it was cut out. But no, it wasn't. It's not there at all on the DVD or on iPlayer. And I've got the original DVDs. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe it's a deleted scene. And I checked the deleted scenes. No, it's not. Does anyone else have this memory of the Doctor licking the Dalek thing? Because I do. And he doesn't do it. I know he licks a lot of stuff. I mean, the man ate sand. But I remember him licking the Dalek and it didn't happen. God, that's a weird sentence. Anyway, overall, I think this episode is fine. And I'm going to put this one into... I think I'm going to put it into Upgrade in Progress. I do enjoy the emotional beats with Tallulah and Laszlo. I do like the new concept of the Daleks and what they've done with the Cult of Skaro here, but it doesn't have as much impact emotionally and whatnot as Gridlock did, so I think I'm going to put it into Upgrade in Progress. And the MVP for the episode is Solomon. Next up is Evolution of the Daleks. This episode also got a 4. I liked the resolution for the two-parter, especially with Sek's character development. He becomes so much more human over the course of the episode, and he realises that what the Daleks do is wrong, and then he gets killed. He literally sacrifices himself to save the Doctor. I repeat, a Dalek sacrificed himself to save the Doctor. I don't think we talk about Dalek Sek's character development enough. Although at the same time, the Doctor witnessed the genocide of another Time Lord adjacent species, which must have just broken him inside. That doesn't get talked about enough either. There's so many deep emotional levels in Doctor Who that are just brushed aside or ignored because we've got to keep the story moving. When you stop and think about certain things, it's really either deep or terrifying or just horrific. I love Tallulah staying with Martha to help save people. She could have just gone back to her ordinary life, but she didn't. She stayed with Martha to help. And Martha got her time to shine in this episode as well, where she got to save the day at the end again. And I think that's brilliant as well. I do love when the companion gets their chance to be front and centre and actually save the day. The Doctor has strange thoughts on humanity, and I hate it, okay? So he says such lovely things about humans a lot of the time. He's always very fascinated with humans and loves them. And that's purely because the writers of the show are human. So obviously they're going to glorify our own species, because everyone does. But the Doctor also rightly calls humans out for the horrible things that they do. But he's also a genocidal freak, so I don't quite understand where he gets off saying all that shit. But also, it's just stupid. It just depends on the time of day as to what mood he's in, as to whether he's going to criticise us or idolise us. And it's just, pick a lane, Doctor. Pick a lane. And I know I'm saying that when last week I said about how if you're a fan of something, you should be able to criticise that thing. So the Doctor being a fan of humanity, he can criticise humanity. But he shouldn't be a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite. He's a massive hypocrite, actually. Seriously, he's a hypocrite. Yeah, he shouldn't be criticising humans for the same things that the Time Lords do and all of that. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of stupid. Okay, one thing about this episode that annoys me though is not to do with the story, it's to do with the visuals. Because you've got two Daleks flying over Hooverville and the Cult of Skaro all have little name tags. They've all got little name tags and you know which one's which. So, by that, Dalek Faye is in two places at once. Because Dalek Faye is the Dalek that's with Dalek Sec in the Empire State Building, whilst they're watching Dalek Faye and I think Dalek Khan, but I'm not sure, flying over Hooverville. How is he in two places at once? I just think that if you're going to put name tags on Daleks, use the right Dalek model when you're doing all the effects and whatnot. Like, it's such a basic thing that annoys me. It happens again in the final moments when Faye is on stage talking and Jast is the one who's in the Empire State at the end, but that's supposed to be Khan because he's the one who got away and flew into the Time War and whatnot. There's just a whole bunch of errors with the Daleks used throughout the episode. I just don't see the point of giving them all names and name tags if they're going to not bother keeping that continuous. Usually continuity in this show is pretty darn good, but that's such an obvious error, it was very avoidable. But anyway, this episode is very good and I did enjoy it. I think that, again, I probably like it more than other people. I like the humanisation of Dalek Sec and how they have done something new and different with the Daleks, because I don't mind the Dalek-human hybrid look. It's creepy as fuck, it's nightmare fuel, but I don't mind it in the sense that that is probably what a Dalek-human hybrid would look like if a Dalek and a human had a very unfortunate baby. So, because of all of that, and the moral question that Dalek Sec has during the episode, and the fact he sacrifices himself for the Doctor, I'm going to put Evolution of the Daleks into Fantastic. And the MVP for the episode is Tallulah Francis. And of course, that's Tallulah with 3 L's and an H. Absolute queen that she is. The next episode is The Lazarus Experiment. So this episode got a 3, and it's not an episode I particularly enjoy going back to. I like the fact we meet Martha's family again. I don't like the fact that her mum is instantly anti-Doctor, even though she has no reason to be. When the man working for that lovely Mr. Saxon goes to her and starts talking, I get it from that point because he says that he's a danger. But before that, she shouldn't be so anti-Doctor. Like, does she do that with the rest of her children's friends? That's weird. I don't understand any of that. I don't like that. Honestly, I think Francine is the worst RTD mum, and yes, that includes Sylvia. Sylvia grew as a character and was fun. Francine was just mean to the Doctor for no reason, and then learned that he was a danger to Martha, and it doesn't make sense as to why she behaved like that. Also, Martha's other family member, Tish, makes some really stupid decisions in this. So at the beginning of the episode, she's all weirded out and grossed out, understandably, by this crusty old man hitting on her in front of who I believe is his wife. I don't know, but he spent a lifetime on her, so it must be his wife. But she's all weirded out and grossed out by this man. And then later on in the episode, the exact same man hits on her again, and she's like, oh yeah, let's do this. And then she gets mad at Martha for trying to stop her from hooking up with this monster man. Tish, girl, get some standards. Jeez. The last thing I'll say is that when the Doctor plays the organ near the end, how is Martha and Tish not deafened? They should have been deafened by that. And why did the Doctor play a full-on tune? Why not just press the keys? Just bang those keys. Why is he playing a fancy tune? Just bang the keys, mate. But I don't understand how Martha and Tish weren't deafened by that. They should have been deafened. They should no longer be able to hear shit. Anyway, Lazarus Experiment I think is going to go into Doctor Who. If you ask me to name episodes of Doctor Who, this would be very low on the list of ones I'd remember. So yeah, I'm going to put it in Doctor Who. And the MVP of the episode is the only unproblematic member of Martha's family, that is Leo Jones. Seriously, he just felt like a really decent guy in this episode, so good on Leo. Martha and Leo are the only unproblematic characters in that whole family. Next up is 42. So this episode got a 3. It's another one that's a bit forgettable for me. Overall, it is a decent episode, and Martha and the Doctor do get some really good moments in the episode, but I just don't really remember this one. It's a forgettable episode to me. It's forgettable in the moment, and it's forgettable in general. However, I do like the format of this story, that most of it takes place as a real-time episode within the 42 minutes. I think that's an interesting way of doing a Doctor Who episode, and when you have a countdown like that, it always raises the stakes. And it is quite hard in shows like Doctor Who, which have big world-ending threats, to raise the stakes. And this is a mid-season episode where the stakes are raised because they're about to fall into a sun, and they've only got 42 minutes to stop it. So I do think that that's a nice way of doing a Doctor Who episode in the middle of the season. The scene with the "I'll save you" moment is really impactful, with Martha floating away in that pod and the Doctor screaming "I'll save you" in silence from behind the window. But I don't understand why the escape pod recall button was on the side of the ship on the outside. It feels a bit kind of counterproductive that that button would be on the outside of the ship. Also, Martha's moments when she's on the phone to her mum. I don't know why she called her for the pub quiz stuff, because that's stupid. I feel like Leo would be the most useful one to call on that situation. But when she called her mum later on in the pod and she was all worried that she wasn't going to survive, I loved that moment because it was a really emotional moment with Martha and her mum. And then obviously her mum is on the phone again at the end, and the Master's theme plays in the background. And it's all very interesting because why is Francine handing her phone over? What's going on? No, but seriously, why was she handing her phone over? They need that for her to call Martha, and they've been listening to the calls anyway, so what's the point of handing the phone over? It's a bit weird. But I do want to know what Martha's reaction to that emotional phone call was, because clearly he was listening. They were recording those phone calls for a reason, and that's so he could listen and get all excited about people being miserable. I want to know what his reaction to that phone call was. There's a moment also with the Doctor when he admits to Martha how scared he is. I think it's when he's about to go into the MRI type machine, but he admits how scared he is. And I really love that humanisation of the Doctor in that moment, and the fact that he trusts Martha enough to tell her that he's terrified. And also he tries to explain regeneration to her at that point as well, because he's like, look, I might die, so this might happen. And she's just like, yeah, shut up, I'm trying to save your life here. I do think that it's a really good scene for both of them. The one thing I really don't like is the Martha Riley kiss at the end. It was unnecessary, it was weird, I don't understand the point. Was that for Martha? Was that for Riley? I don't know, nor do I really care. I just think it shouldn't have been in there. Look, I'm not opposed to romance and kissing and all of that in shows, but there's way too much in Doctor Who without a reason for being. I need a reason that two characters who've only just met are kissing. It just doesn't work for me. Anyway, as I said, overall it's a fine episode, it's just forgettable, and for that reason, this is going into Doctor Who. Confession time. This episode here, 42, is actually the reason I created the Doctor Who category, because it's not a bad episode, it's just forgettable. It's literally the reason I created the Doctor Who category in the first place, because Doctor Who isn't for bad episodes, it's just for episodes that are fine, but I don't really remember their existence. I forget them. But 42 is the reason for this category existing in the first place, so obviously it was going to go there. And the MVP of the episode is Abby Lerner. Next up is The Infinite Quest. Now, I know some of you will be thinking, what the hell, this isn't an episode of Doctor Who, this isn't in series 3, that's an animation, what are you doing, girl? What I'm doing is placing this where it belongs in series 3. This is a series of animated specials that were released in like 5-10 minute segments or something after each episode of Doctor Who. So every week from episode 1 all the way through to the finale, a segment of this was released. But story-wise, it fits between 42 and Human Nature. And I decided to include it. So this one got a 4, which I was surprised about. I thought it would be a 3, but it's a 4. And I do think it's pretty decent, to be honest. I think it would have made a cool episode of Doctor Who as normal, but I understand why they didn't, because it would have been quite a big budget one considering all the different places they went. And that's why animation is a really good medium to use when you just can't do certain things in live action, or when it's just going to be too much to do that. Same with the audio dramas from Big Finish. They have things that you can't do in live action. With the animation though, I'm not keen on the animation style. I do think that the first part of it, so what would have been the first episode, was worse than the rest in animation and in sound. It was all very echoey for the first 5-10 minutes before the rest of it was fine. But the animators did give really good attention to detail with facial reactions and all sorts of different things. There's a moment where there's a pirate captain or something telling Martha and the Doctor to hold on, and they grab onto each other, and she was like, I meant to the railing. And then the Doctor sort of releases her instantly, and you just see Martha's face going, oh, fuck you, bitch, could have let me hug him for longer. It's just like the tiny little facial expression, but it was really good. I like that. There was a lot of attention to detail throughout the episode. The integration of the animation and the live action for the title sequence is really interesting. I think that's really well done. From memory, they've got the animated TARDIS, but the live action vortex, which is really weird and really fun. There's a scene with the Doctor in prison in this one where he uses the psychic paper in a very unique way he's ever done before or since, and it bothers me because that's a brilliant way of using psychic paper. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want you to go and watch The Infinite Quest if you haven't already. But he uses the psychic paper in such a different way, and I'm like, why is that not used more? And speaking of the psychic paper, I do think that's the best New Who invention, because with the shorter run times than you have in Classic Who for each story, you got to keep the story moving. Whereas in Classic Who, you might have been able to spend a 25-minute episode on the Doctor just trying to get in somewhere. Here you can't, because that's half your episode gone. So having the Doctor just flash some psychic paper and say he's from unit or whatever really works to get things moving. There's so many complex characters in this one. Finding an MVP was very, very difficult. Every time I thought that's my MVP, they did something terrible. There was a limit on MVP-able characters, but they were all very interesting and very complex, and I really like when there's complex characters in an episode. And the villain of the story was pretty decent as well. I mean, I think in live action he would have been scary. He wasn't exactly scary in animation, but in live action he might have been scary. But I think he worked well as a villain for the episode, and he was believable as a villain. I like the relationship with the Doctor and Martha in this one. It's shown to be a really good, friendly, fun relationship between them. And the Doctor spends 3 years at one point trying to save Martha. For her, it's the blink of an eye, but for him, it's 3 years that he's spent trying to get back to her. So that's nice. So overall, I do like this episode. It's an interesting concept, and it's quite similar to my version of the Key to Time series, if you've watched my Classic Who ranking for that. So what I would prefer the Key to Time series to be, it's like that, because they are going through to different places on a scavenger hunt of sorts to find different keys. And they're not doing it on behalf of anyone, they're doing it to stop the bad guy from doing it first. So I do feel like this is actually a really interesting concept, and it's a better version of the Key to Time, really, in my opinion. So I think overall, I'm going to put this one into upgrade in progress. It's not perfect, but it's much better than I think most people give it credit for. And the MVP is Pilot Kelvin. Okay, we're on to the best half of series 3 now. So let's move on with Human Nature. This episode got a 5, and it is good, but it's basically just a straight up period drama with a little bit of alien nonsense thrown in. Harry Lloyd is an absolute gem in this. He's truly amazing as Son of Mine. He's really, really good at playing this terrifyingly just villain. Just terrifying straight up villain. He's truly menacing. I mean, he's sinister just as the schoolboy himself, and then he's even more so as Son of Mine. It's really good. The only thing that I want to know is when Russell came up with the chameleon arch thing for the end of the series, like, was that something that Paul Cornell came up with in the book for this one, and then it was used in the episode, and then Russell thought, oh, I'll use that for the end? Or was that something Russell had planned for the end of the series, and then he said, Paul, can you throw this in there? That's what I want to know. About the family of blood, first up, Daughter of Mine wears an outfit that's very similar to Romana 2's outfit, and I don't know how I never noticed that before. Second, the family live for a very short time, and they're a family. It's a mother and a father and a son and a daughter. So how do they procreate if there's only like 4 of them? I don't know what planet they come from, but there's the 4 of them as a family, and they only live for a very short time apparently. But if the whole species lives for a very short time, then how do they procreate? How do they even exist? We never see what they look like for real. How do they exist? They're just green lights in balls or something at one point. So how are they existing? I have so many questions. Only other thing to say is fuck Nurse Redfern, and John Smith gets racist, and we don't like that either. So, you know, screw the both of them. For this episode anyway. Overall, I think we all know Human Nature is a fantastic episode of Doctor Who. The Family of Blood are really interesting, terrifying villains. The Scarecrows terrified me as a child. Obviously, this one is going into NewWho. And the MVP for the episode is Jenny. Next up is the family of blood. So obviously this episode got another 5, and Martha starts this episode off reminding us yet again what an absolute queen she is. She is tremendous in the resolution of the cliffhanger. Yeah, she really does not get enough appreciation by the Doctor. Him telling her that she's amazing in the Lazarus experiment because she got a DNA sample without being asked is not enough. I need more, Doctor. I need more. This one has more emotional scenes in it, not just with John and Joan when John Smith finds out that he's the Doctor and that he's got to effectively die so that the Doctor can live and save the day, and Martha is effectively his executioner, but also the scene where all the schoolboys are trying to protect the school and they're shooting at these scarecrows and the sad music plays over the top, and you just remember that in a year's time those boys are going to be doing that in France on the front lines and most of them will probably be dead. So it is really sad and poignant at times in this episode as well. I do like the scene in the Family of Blood ship when you don't know that it's the Doctor and he's acting like John Smith but he's actually the Doctor. I think that was a really good switch when he was like, oh, if there's one thing you shouldn't let me do, it's press all those buttons. It's very doctory. However, he starts off not doctory at all. Yeah, I just really like that scene. Last thing I'll say is that at the end, when the Doctor goes through and commits vengeance on the Family of Blood, which was completely unnecessary, he could have just let them all die. He didn't have to do what he does. But when he goes through and punishes them, Martha isn't there for any of those clips. So did he just leave her in the Edwardian times? Or did he say, hey, you go to bed and I'm going to deal with this? Like, how did that happen? Does she know what he did? Did he hide it from her? I feel like he hid it from her. But he really didn't need to be so cruel and punish them in the way he did. Yes, they all did bad things, but the Doctor's not supposed to retaliate in kind. He's supposed to forgive and let them die. They're mayflies, effectively, aren't they? They have a short lifespan, and sure, they did some bad shit, but he's not supposed to torture them for eternity, because that's what he's doing. He's making them live forever and torturing them for that forever. That's not okay. It's not justice, it's vengeance, and it was completely unnecessary. Anyway, overall, The Family of Blood is another terrific episode, and it has brilliant emotional moments, and obviously, this is also going into NewWho. For this episode, there is no MVP, but we do have a no VP because someone stood out to me as being such a little shit. I had to call him out on it. And that person is Tim Latimer. All he had to do was just not take the watch. And when he did take the watch, all he had to do was just give it back. Little shit. Seriously, so many people died because he stole that watch. He could have just given the watch back. Next up is Blink. This episode got a 5 again. I think it's a fantastic episode, truly amazing, brilliant new monster as well. And it was a Dr. Light episode that you don't even realise is Dr. Light because he's woven throughout the story so well that you feel his presence even though he's not there. And also, it's just such a brilliant episode. You're just so engrossed in Sally's story in this that you just forget the Doctor is supposed to be a part of it. It's a really inventive way of doing a Dr. Light story with having the Easter eggs on the DVDs because you then care about Sally Sparrow because the Doctor does. It's brilliantly done. And obviously the Weeping Angels, that was the scariest shit I ever saw as a child, alongside the Empty Child and the Cybermen. It's Doctor Who horror at its best, you know? It's just something that should be so normal, but it's terrifying. This episode was brilliantly directed. The angels were actually real people staying completely still, which is insane to me. There's a scene where Sally drops down to pick up something and then the angel behind her moves its hands and you don't see them move because it's as Sally's going in and out of frame of the angel. It's amazing. And I do think this was the scariest we ever saw the Weeping Angels because you never saw them move. You didn't know enough about them. They were just this species of creatures that just took your time and threw you back in time and let you live to death, which is weird to think about. But also, I liked the idea that they were just hunters. I think in later episodes of Doctor Who with the Weeping Angels, for me, they've been kind of ruined. Fair enough if everyone else still likes them, but for me, they're kind of ruined because I don't like the Weeping Angels being this really cruel species that does it for the fun. I prefer it that they were doing it for hunting. They were just doing it because it's natural. The same with the stone. They turned to stone because it was natural. They couldn't control that, apparently. And then the ending of the episode with the don't blink message being repeated and all the statues throughout London being shown. My God, that gave me nightmares for weeks. It's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So overall, I'm definitely going to put Blink into NewWho again. I mean, it's such a good episode. It's so good. And the MVP for the episode is Billy Shipton. Bless him, he had to go the long way around. Kathy Nightingale was this close to getting MVP, this close. But then Billy came along again, and I remembered we love Billy. Next up is Utopia. So this episode got a 4, and I think that's probably going to be controversial, but honestly, I don't like this episode as much as everybody else does. I just don't. I love the ending of it, and here's the thing. When I rewatch this episode for the purposes of a Master Day, I will rewatch it from the moment that Yana opens the watch. When Derek Jacobi becomes the Master, that's when I watch the episode. From that point onwards, I don't really care about all the rest of it. Everything else is not as impressive to me. I mean, honestly, this would be a 3 if not for the ending. With Professor Yana though, he is fucking adorable. Such a cute little man. I love Professor Yana. He's so adorable, so sweet. And then he opens the watch, Derek Jacobi turns around, the eyes, and you just know he's an evil bastard. Derek Jacobi is brilliant playing 2 characters, 2 very distinctly different characters in the same, not even the same episode, the same scene. He plays 2 distinctly different characters. And it's just brilliant. The eyes alone. And I know you know what I mean about with the eyes. Honestly, when I was a child, I had no idea who the Master was at all. Absolutely no clue. This is my first time watching Doctor Who. NewWho was my introduction to every classic monster and villain. So I had no idea who the Master was. But when Derek Jacobi turned around and you saw the eyes, and then the Doctor's reaction to him, like they looked at each other and the Doctor just knew who he was. You instantly know this is someone to fear. This is someone who is not nice, who is not going to be good to the Doctor, who's not going to be friends. This is not a good Time Lord. He doesn't want them back. This is a bad situation. You just knew that instantly. And obviously it was proven as the ending progressed and he locked the TARDIS and then he regenerated into John Sim and then he started doing his little villain monologue. Well, sort of villain monologue. He actually decided against doing the proper villain monologue, but he gave us a little one, so fair. One thing I do have to ask though is about the Chameleon Arch. When the Doctor was John Smith in Human Nature, there was the moment with the cricket ball where a piano was about to fall on a mother and her baby or something, and he could see what was going to happen and he grabbed a cricket ball and threw it at a perfectly precise place to stop anyone getting hurt. And that was the Doctor taking over him. I don't believe that was John Smith, that was the Doctor part of him. But then with the Master and Professor Yana was adorable and trying his best to help people. And when the Doctor said that the ship wasn't going to fly, he was straight away like, we'll find a way. He was very adamant on helping everybody and he was going to die doing it. So why did the evil of the Master not come out in Professor Yana? I know the Master did say that it was a disguise so good that he even fooled himself. But still, I have questions. I've got 2 more things. One is that This Is Gallifrey, the song by Marigold, excellent music, that keeps playing throughout this episode and it keeps sort of getting to the point where it builds up and up and up and then it just cuts off into something else and it annoys me, okay? It happens throughout this episode, it happens throughout the next 2 episodes and it annoys the hell out of me. I hate the building and then the cut off. No, I want it to go into the big thing, you know? It really annoyed me. So I don't know many tracks by name with soundtracks. I know songs by name when I'm singing the song, but I don't know music tracks by name. I struggle with differentiating music a lot of the time when there's no lyrics to go with it so that you can differentiate easier. But I know This Is Gallifrey, Our Childhood at Home. I know that one, which shows how much I love this track. And it annoys me that I don't get the full thing. Only other thing to say is the Doctor saying that he ran away from Jack annoys me as well because it feels like a retcon. It doesn't feel real, it feels like a retcon and I don't like it. The Doctor didn't even know that Jack was alive. He didn't know that Rose had brought life to Jack. They didn't see him. The Doctor was already dematerialising the TARDIS when Jack ran around the corner and the TARDIS was gone. So I don't understand why that was in there. It feels like a retcon, I don't like it. Anyway, this episode is going to go into upgrade in progress. I realise that may be a controversial positioning, but it's because I don't like the episode that much. There are moments that are really good, especially the final moments with the Master. But yeah, the overall story of the silo and the cannibal people things, the future kind and all that, I don't care. Don't really care about that. And the MVP for the episode is Professor Yana. Adorable man. Next up is The Sound of Drums. So this episode gets a 5. If you know me in any way, shape or form, you'll understand that it was always going to get a 5. It was always going to get a 5, okay? This has the full return of my favourite character in the Whoniverse, the Master. I love this character, okay? He's an evil genius, and I love evil geniuses in TV, but he's also, in the classic era, he's helplessly inept at it, and I just love that as well. Every time he does a big plan, it always goes awry and he's like, fuck. And the Doctor has to help him sometimes to stop the stupidness, which is funny. Even though the Master would never actually ask for help from him because he's too proud for that. And as time goes on with the Master, they become much more complex as a character. And I love that, okay? He and the Doctor are besties for the resties and I love it. I absolutely love it. There's a reason that the Master never kills the Doctor, okay? It's not because he can't, it's because he won't. He keeps saying he wants to, he keeps saying that. He never will. He'll never kill the Doctor. It just won't happen. He loves him too much. He's his bestie. Right, so this episode. So when I was rewatching this episode, there was a lot of stuff about a certain political party on TV around that time, and I really struggled to get through these episodes purely because of the political aspect of it. And if a certain party of grifters get into power in the next election, I may never be able to watch these episodes again. I may never be able to do it. And that's a shame because I love this finale. I really do love this finale, and it'll be hugely upsetting for me if I can't watch it again. I love all the scenes with the Master, obviously, especially the cabinet room scene with the gas mask thing and him repeating stuff and he just smiling and all that. John Sim plays him so well. I know some people think that he's too much, but I love it because this is a version of the Master after the Time War. He's escaped the Time War. He's young now, he's refreshed, he's got a new lease on life. He's at the top of his game now. It's just him versus the Doctor. He's at his peak, he's doing his thing, and no other Time Lords can get in the way and stop him. He's quite a few steps ahead of the Doctor as well at this point, so it's possible that he was watching the Doctor from most of Series 1 all the way through to the end of Series 3. So he's very much knowing what's happening and is planning everything. He's just brilliant, okay? He looks like he's having so much fun. And that's what I love when villains are just shamelessly evil and having fun with it. It's just fun. To clarify, I like it in fiction. In real life, not so much. No, people should not be doing those things. But in fiction, I love when there's a villain who is just bad. They're just bad. They're just evil. It's not like a Pixar villain where they have a moral background to them that are they really a villain and blah blah blah. They're an antagonist, but are they really a villain? It's not that. He's a villain and he knows it and he loves it. One thing I do want to know though is the Master and Lucy. How did he find Lucy? And was she personally hypnotised by him the whole time, or did she know who he was and just agreed to do all this? Because there are moments when it looks like she is hypnotised, and there's moments when it just seems like she's some stupid ditz who wanted to be a queen consort sort of thing. I can see how he'd easily be able to manipulate a woman like that into being his consort, as it were, but I don't know if that's the case here. Like, I want to know if he hypnotised her as well as the rest of the world. The scene where he watches Teletubbies is fantastic because he generally thinks they're real. Just like with the Clangers in Classic Who, with the Master in the unit prison watching the Clangers, and he thinks that they're real aliens, and the guy has to explain, no mate, they're puppets, they're fucking puppets. It's a children's TV show, they're puppets. This is why I love the Master, okay? But he watches Teletubbies and he thinks it's real because he's like, that's evolution. Television's their stomachs. And I'm sure that it wasn't written to be him thinking that they were real, but that's definitely my headcanon because he thought the Clangers were real. If he thought the Clangers were real, he's definitely thinking the Teletubbies are real. I don't care. Oh my god. I love this show. One other thing I want to know is, okay, so this is a rant that I took out of a Classic Who episode back in the Tom Baker era. I took it out of that video because I knew that I was going to be talking about it here anyway. It's a really big question for me and it's been bugging me for several years, and I just need to know from all of you out there, if you happen to know the answer, please do let me know. How does the Master know about the jelly babies? On the Valiant, he has a paper bag of jelly babies and he offers one to Lucy and he looks all pleased and smug about it. Yes, he's smug about the whole moment anyway because his plan's about to come to fruition. But the jelly babies, why does it, how does he know about the jelly babies? The Master met the Tom Baker Doctor once. That was in Tom Baker's final episode. I do not remember jelly babies in that episode. I could be wrong, but I do not remember them. I don't remember any other doctors after Tom Baker using jelly babies. So how does the Master know that the Doctor likes having a paper bag of jelly babies? I need to know this. I just don't understand how he knew about the jelly babies, okay? And why he was doing it. Why did he do the jelly baby bit there? Because the Doctor wasn't even in the room then. The Doctor wasn't there, so he wasn't doing it to goad the Doctor or to piss him off. He was just doing it. He just did the bit for himself. Like, how does he know about the jelly babies and why did he do the bit? Why? Other than that, I think the ending is iconic, 10 out of 10, no notes. The here come the drums moment. And I don't like Lucy as a character or the performance of Lucy, but the little dance she does is adorable. That is accurate. I would be doing that as well. Even if I was one of the people terrified on the Valiant, I'd probably still be dancing in that song. I'd be like, fuck it, I don't care. This is a banger. I do like the little dance. Anyway, I have been talking for long enough about this episode and I have 2 pages on the last episode, so I should get a move on. This episode, okay, So I was going to put it in Fantastic. That was the plan, was to put this in Fantastic. But actually, I love this one so much, and I think that it's so fun. It's really good politically, and it's really good fun, and it's really good introduction to the Master for new fans and reintroduction to this new version for old fans. And I just love it. I just love it. I love it when the villains win and the hero has to try and fix it. It happens a lot in other shows, and there's a show called Legends of Tomorrow, which is basically Doctor Who with superheroes. And one of the series, I won't say which, but one of them, the villains win. They completely win. Then the final episode is the heroes trying to fix the problem. And it's just so brilliant, and I love that sort of ending. So yeah, I love this episode so much, and fuck it, it's going into NewWho. I love this episode. Seriously, if I can't watch this again, if grifters get into power, I'm going to be devastated. And the MVP for the episode is Clive Jones. He's still a creep for dating a girl younger than his daughter, but in this episode, he's a good dad. Okay, here we go. Last of the Time Lords. So this episode also got a 5, which probably was guessed easily because I love the Master, and this is the Master episode, so... And this is the Master at the top of his game. He has been the Master of the world for 1 year. His latest step of the plan is nearly at its end. So he's loving life. And the track 3 scene proves it. I fucking love the track 3 scene. I want to know what the rest of the Master's playlist was. Please tell me the rest of the Master's playlist. I need to know. Although I do find it a little odd, just a little odd, that the Master still enjoys running the world a year on, because surely by that point you'd be bored as fuck. Ruling isn't fun. And, well, I mean, he kind of tortured everyone and did everything already. Like, he's just repeated himself at this point, isn't he? So what's left for him to do? It's just boring, surely. I have more questions about Lucy. Why did the Master keep her around? Was it just purely because of the backup plan of the Saxon books or whatnot, and her giving a genetic sample or something? Or was there some other reason? Did he just like to mess with her? I don't know. And he also kept wearing his wedding ring, which I found weird, because he wasn't actually married to Lucy. Lucy's described as the Master's wife later on as well, but she was never his wife. She married Harold Saxon, not the Master. So the Master didn't actually marry her legally or morally. I'm sure that wasn't a Time Lord ceremony that he did. So I don't understand that. And if he did want to keep her around, why didn't he just stick her in a maid outfit and make him wait on him too? I just don't understand most of this Lucy stuff. Also, Lucy in general annoys me in this episode. This is why I need to know if she was personally hypnotised or something, because she acts so bizarre in this episode. I just don't know if she's constantly drunk or if she's hypnotised or what, because she's not acting like a normal person. It's just not good. I'm sorry. There's very few times that I'll say that it's bad acting in something, because I don't want to be mean and say horrible things like that. But for me, that wasn't very good acting, because I just don't understand if she's drunk or hypnotised or if she's just doing that. I read through the script and I didn't see anything that said she's drunk or hypnotised or anything like that. And there's no deleted scene to do with the Master and Lucy, so I don't know what it is. Yes, I know that he was at least abusing her physically, but you don't walk around like that with physical abuse, so I don't understand what her deal was, and it annoys me every time. The blocking of the episode also annoys me, because the moment when the Master turns the old man Doctor into the Dobby Doctor, Lucy is in the background of the shot. I don't know why the director thought it was a good idea to have Lucy standing in the background of the shot, but obviously they've sped up the footage, and Lucy's behind constantly, just her hands are constantly moving, and you see her breathing. It's clearly a sped up shot, because the Master's in normal time. The Master's in normal time, which means that it's just the Doctor going really fast and not the world. So why have Lucy in the back of the shot? I do think that was really poorly blocked, because she shouldn't have been in the back of the shot. That whole bit of the scene was ruined for me, because I can see her in the back of the shot constantly moving and breathing. Just her breathing was too fast because it was all sped up. So even if she had been able to stay still for that whole time, her breathing would have given it away. So yeah, I just don't like that. I don't think people give Martha enough credit for what she accomplished in this episode, because she had a single year and she walked the entire Earth alone, evading capture from the Master's agents and the Toclophane and all sorts, and she told the Doctor's story and her story and enabled the Doctor's plan to actually work. Speaking of the Doctor's plan, I don't agree that it's a Deus Ex Machina. I know a lot of fans say that, I don't agree. It was set up perfectly well throughout the episode. In The Sound of Drums, we have the perception filter keys, which Martha explains again in the beginning of this episode, and it explains about the satellites as well, because in everything links to the satellites. They explain everything that is part of the Doctor's plan. So if the Master can implant thoughts in people, why can't the people push their thoughts and project them to save the Doctor? Like, that's all it is. My only issue with the ending is the floating bit and the Jedi mind powers, because I don't understand how that's a thing. The people's thoughts of the Doctor helping him to go back to who he was, I can buy that, but not the glowing floaty Doctor and the Jedi mind powers. That's the bit I don't understand. But I don't see that as a Deus Ex Machina at all. Anyway, going back to Martha, there's a scene where she's in one of the slave quarters houses and the Master's walking upon the ground. Seriously, the he never walks upon the ground guy is really fucking weird. Who talks like that? Martha's on the stairs, hidden under a coat and behind people, and she is shaking with fear. She is literally shaking with fear. And it scenes like that really show how bad it is. Obviously, this is a family show. They can't show this sheer extent of the Master's evilness. They can't do that in a family show. It would be more like Game of Thrones if they did, and that's not a family show. So just having that scene of Martha reacting to the fact that he's outside really puts forward and shows how scary this man is and how dangerous he is. So I think that was a really good scene to have, even though it didn't last long and she did just sort of stand up really calmly and go outside and whatnot afterwards. But she was shaking with fear, and I loved that. It was really good to show how scared she is and also how brave she is, because despite that fear, she still accomplished what she did. She saved the entire world, and no one will ever know. So the rest I'm going to talk about the Master because his death scene always makes me sad. But before that, I just want to mention the scene that makes him feel a bit rapey. There are two things you don't do when you're a villain, okay? If you want to be a lovable villain, you don't do two things. One of them is killing the dog, and the other one is sexual abuse. So the Master may have potentially killed a dog in classic Who, but it was off screen, so I can say that maybe he just shot near the dog and the dog ran away. And obviously he doesn't rape anyone in this because it's a family show again, but he does give vibes of rapiness, and it's worrying. It's when he comes out after having punched Lucy in the face or something and she's got the bruise on her face, and he then gets Tanya to give him a massage, and then he tells Lucy about how gorgeous Tanya is and how they should get to know each other, that could be fun and all of that, and Lucy's face does not look in any way pleased or happy to do that, and I can't imagine what Tanya's face looks like because we didn't see it, but I don't think she would have been very happy with that suggestion either. It is just, it gives proper rapey vibes. Like, I don't like thinking about that. He's my favourite character in this show, and it makes me go, oh, do I have to stop liking him now? Like, ugh. It gets harder and harder to justify loving this character because he potentially killed a dog in the classic era, and now he's borderline rapey. I don't like it. My mind tends to block those moments out, so on a rewatch, I forget that it's coming, and then I'm like, oh yeah. Every time, I'm not prepared, so yeah. But when he dies, we finally get the climax of This Is Gallifrey, Our Childhood, Our Home, and I am very happy with that because I love that music. Although I'm very, very sad the Master died again. I hate when the Master dies. It always happens. It always makes me watch the Master die. One final thing about the Master portion of the episode is that the Master mentions to the Doctor about Days of Old and how he had companions who would inhale the time vortex or whatever he said. But that was just Rose. That's not Days of Old, that's Rose. The Master wasn't there for that. He doesn't know about any of that. That was off-world as well. That it wasn't even an Aliens of London thing or a Doomsday thing where it was on Earth that the Master would have seen. It was off-world in the future, the far future. And it's just Rose. That's not Days of Old. That was last year. So I don't understand that. I feel like they could have done a classic Who reference to that, because they mentioned axons fucking twice. So why not do a different classic Who reference? I mean, I suppose he couldn't exactly say, in Days of Old, Doctor, you had companions who rudely shushed me while you were playing drafts. That doesn't really have the same impact as what Rose did. What about Perry? He could say, no, in Days of Old, Doctor, you had companions who picked me up as a teeny tiny little master. Oh, I love Perry and the Tiny Master. When his plans go awry, it's the funniest thing. But anyway, the last thing I'll say about this is that I don't like when Martha goes back. Martha has a great exit and then she goes back and tells the Doctor the stuff about her friend or her old roommate or whatever it was who had someone who they were in love with and they've never looked at them twice. But it's like, as I said at the beginning of this video, the Doctor made it very clear from the start he was not interested in Martha like that. He was very much emotionally unavailable. Martha is a very intelligent woman. She would understand that. So I hate that everything comes back to her feelings for the Doctor. Again, it's unnecessary. Why couldn't her love for him be platonic? That's why I love in series 4 with the Doctor and Donna, where they are very much platonic. They do not want to mate. But Martha, annoyingly, the writers kept pushing her to have this unrequited love for the Doctor and it sucked. And I don't think it did anything for her character. at all. It feels like it's supposed to be a yes queen kind of moment because she tells him what for and then goes off. But to me, it's just, girl, you misunderstood the assignment. He needed a friend. You just needed someone to take you to time and space. You're not entitled to someone else's feelings. You're not entitled to their love. You're not entitled to anything from another person. It really ruins Martha's character for me. And I love Martha. We know I love Martha. The Doctor was very clear with her from day one. He didn't lead her on. So yeah, I just hate that bit. But overall, Last of the Time Lords is a brilliant episode. I don't care what anyone else says about the Deus Ex Machina, which wasn't a Deus Ex Machina at all. I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to put this one into fantastic. Because of the Jedi Mind Power moment and the Martha going back moment, I can't put it into NewWho, but I do think that other than that, it was on par with the Sound the Drums. I just think that little tiny bits of the ending could have been different. And the MVP for the episode is Dr. Thomas Milligan. Next up is Voyage of the Damned. So this Christmas special got a 5, and I will be honest, from memory, I didn't think that I liked this one that much or that it was that good an episode. I thought it was a 4 at best. But on my rewatch, when I was actually watching it to rate the episodes for the Scarf project I'm doing, it's really fucking good. I absolutely love the costumes. Absolutely love the costumes, mostly for the background actors because they're the ones in the glorious Titanic-esque 1910s costumes. Glorious. I love the song, the amazing Murray Gold Christmas song, The Stowaway. Brilliant song, absolutely love it. Alonso and Astrid are great characters. Bless Alonso, bless him. He was really close to being MVP. He's not, but he was really close. Wilf's bit was really great in the episode as well. I absolutely love how they tied that into series 4 later on as well. That was a really good moment. And I really love how they humanise all of the characters in the group that the Doctor's with. They humanise all of the characters in the group and give them all little moments to basically show who they are. And I really love that. Except that prick Rixton. He doesn't get that sort of moment. But he does get moments that still make you feel like a real person because he is a prick. And unfortunately, pricks are among us. So, but he does feel real. All of them feel like real people in this episode. Max Capricorn doesn't feel that real, but he is a very good villain, I think. He doesn't let the Doctor do a monologue. He doesn't do that. He just goes, kill him. He gets confused about why the host haven't just killed him, and he's like, kill the bastard, come on. And then when the Doctor's trying to get information out of him, he's like, yeah, this interview's over, thank you, you can die now. I think he's a good villain in that aspect. Like, he knows what he wants and he doesn't really care about the Doctor. Yeah, he just wants him to fuck off and die, so he's not mucking up his plans. So I like that aspect of Max Capricorn, even though I do think Max Capricorn in general is kind of cheesy. There's a moment near the end where Mr. Copper says to the Doctor about if he could pick and choose who lives and who dies, he wouldn't have picked Rixton, would he? And he said, but then if you could choose, it'd make you a monster, wouldn't it? If only Mr. Copper knew. If only he knew. I have 2 issues with the episode, very, very small issues. One of them is, why can't snow ever just be snow? Why is it never snow? Even in Waters of Mars, there's a deleted scene in that episode where someone explains how that one is not snow either. Why can snow never just be snow? It's so annoying. It's such a trope with Doctor Who that snow is never really snow. It's just ashes, or it's just this, or it's just that. It annoys me. And the other issue I have is with Astrid's end. She sacrifices herself to save everybody, and that's wonderful. That is a really good moment. It's really powerful, and she's brilliant for doing it. Brilliant and courageous. But then the Doctor brings her back as Starlight, and I just wish that he hadn't have done that. In the episode, he was trying to bring her back fully. He didn't know that she would just be light, that he wouldn't actually have enough power to bring her back fully. But obviously the writers knew. And I just feel like it was unnecessary. It's a really lovely line that he says when he says, you're not falling, you're flying. And he sends her off as Starlight through the stars. But that's no existence. What the fuck is that, Doctor? I don't like that. And the kiss, the unnecessary kiss. To be fair, there's 2 unnecessary kisses in that one. And the first one, Kylie Minogue had to stand on a fucking medical box because she was too small. And even then she was still massively shorter than David Tennant. She's a very short woman. I think both kisses in the episode were unnecessary, even though the first one was quite epic because the sparks flying around. So it was one of those sort of epic firework type kisses. And I do like when she calls him a Time King from Gabbardy. That's fun. But overall, I do think the episode is a good episode, a really strong episode, and I'm debating where to put it. Because the thing is, it is a really good episode, but it's not one that I would choose to watch. Out of Christmas specials, it's not one I would choose to watch. So I think for that reason, I'm going to put it into fantastic. As I said, it's a really good episode. And the MVP for the episode is Foon Van Hoff. That woman went through trauma in this episode. I really like her and her husband, and it was going to be both of them, but the fact that she sacrificed herself to take a host down in order to save everyone else after her husband had died, I love that. I love that moment. She was a brave woman, so Foon gets the MVP award. And that is it. That is series 3, which is one of my favourite series, even though I never really think of it as such. It's mostly because of the master episodes at the end. But looking at this tier list, clearly it's actually got quite a few bangers in it. Yeah, I do think it's a really strong series, and I don't think it gets as much love as it should. Even me, back in 2007, I would have been about 12, 13, and yeah, I know that I didn't give this as much love because I was still mourning Rose as a character, which I guess is what the Doctor was doing as an audience surrogate, but it got annoying with him. I feel like if he had moved on, the rest of us may have been able to move on as well, bearing in mind I was a child at the time. So I was not ready for a new companion or anything without Rose. As an adult, I fucking love Martha. She deserves all the love and respect. She is an absolute queen, an icon. She is the moment. Well, not literally the moment, that's Billie Piper again. But Martha is there, okay? Martha is fabulous. As is this season, apparently. I actually wasn't expecting this many to be that high up. I knew there'd be at least one in Doctor Who, but I didn't expect the rest of them to be that high up, so I'm surprised. Season stats. The most common score was a 5, and the season average is 4.31. Now, I have 3 quotes for the quote of the season this time, and once again, I'll put a poll up and you can choose which one you think should be the official quote of the season. The first one comes from Evolution of the Daleks, and it's Dalek Sec when he's chained up on the stage with 2 other Daleks who are not who they should be. And Dalek Sec says, "My Daleks, just understand this. If you choose death and destruction, then death and destruction will choose you." It's a simple quote, but I think a powerful one. Basically, don't start picking fights with people, just live happily among everyone else. The next quote comes from Family of Blood, and it's Tim Latimer, the little shit he is, talking to someone about why he didn't give the watch back earlier. And he says, "I was so scared of the Doctor, because I've seen him. He's like fire and ice and rage. He's like the night and the storm in the heart of the sun. He's ancient and forever. He burns at the centre of time, and he can see the turn of the universe. And he's wonderful." I just like that quote. It pretty much sums up the Doctor in flowery language. But I think the next quote sums up the Doctor even better. This is also from Family of Blood, and it's Son of Mine doing his little voiceover as the Doctor's making all of his family live forever. And Son of Mine says, "He never raised his voice. That was the worst thing. The fury of the Time Lord. And then we discovered why. Why this Doctor, who had fought with gods and demons, why he'd run away from us and hidden. He was being kind. We wanted to live forever, so the Doctor made sure that we did." I think that sums the Doctor up a bit better, to be honest, because he's a hypocritical bastard and has a lot of rage in him. But those are the 3 quotes, so feel free to choose which one you think should be the official quote of the season. And that's really everything for this tier list. Let me know in the comments if you think everything's in the right place or if you would place things differently, and I will see you next time for Series 4.